the man comes around, he said, and he's so lonely in the city, he doesn't have any
He's a
friends.
soldier. He's a soldier.
Yes,
army.
soldier. And I told him, well, I couldn't help him, but I can give me your name, and I'll pass it on to the friend, my boyfriend's, my good friend's brother, George. And I did that. Following day, Irene and I, walking around, went back to her apartment, and George is there, and in that apartment were about 5 or 6 American soldiers sitting there playing chess. So it was perfectly proper for us to talk to them. And we talked, and then Irene and I had other things to do. We left the apartment, and I had to go back home, and I lived about a block away from that particular area. And I started walking home, and as I walked and looking behind, there was this American soldier walking behind me.
Same one?
Yes.
Who had spoken with you the 2 days?
No, it was another one
okay.
who was part of the group of soldiers playing chess at George's and Irene's place. And we talked, and that was the first day where he sort of spoke up to me and said that we could go out together, we could get
Who was
coffee.
this person, Mom?
That was Philip Foisie.
Philip Foisie, all right.
Well, we said, I couldn't see him. Well, goodbye. I'll see you following day. The following day, he's there again. Said, I can't see it. My mother said...
Imagine that.
Playing hard to get.
My mother said, well, why don't you invite him for dinner that evening, since we were not to go out together. So that evening he came, we had dinner.
Uh-huh.
The following day, again, he was there to talk me into going. And we walked up back to the apartment. He knew where I was living, the building, and he's talking there. And he said that he had to leave in 2 days, and he won't be able to see much again. Maybe he could see another.
What was going on in your mind at that moment when he said he had to go away for a few days and he was at dinner?
Dinner, I said, well, this is the way it is. This is the way it comes along. And at that point, as he was leaving, he proposed to me. And when 2 days had passed, we've seen each other for 2 days. And I shrugged him, said, well, I'll see you tomorrow, maybe when you're leaving to go back to Japan. From there, they were going to Japan and then back to the U.S.
He proposed right then and there.
Yes.
And he gave you a day or two to think about it.
That's what it was. And following...
Quite a closer, that man.
Really?
Wow. Doesn't waste time.
That's right.
Uncle Phil, what a man. I think we can all learn a lesson from that.
Well, I was going to really look for him again the following day.
Uh-huh.
We were going to a concert at Lyceum. That was an area where we had performances. And I walked out looking for this man who had proposed to me, the day before. But no was he there, and that was it.
Typical man.
Last I saw him. That was the last I saw him.
Did you accept his proposal?
No, well, when I mentioned it to my mother, she said, well, these Americans were up in the north with all the Chinese people, so he's seen a European person, so don't take him seriously. And that was it, because color meant a lot. Because at that time, one dared not to fraternize with anyone other than your same kind, not with the Chinese, not with the Japanese and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happened after you went looking for him?
And they left. I didn't see, I guess that I didn't have the right time, or he didn't have the right time. They all had left to go on to Japan. Fight the boat and go on to Japan. And I did get a letter from him when he was in Japan. It was written by a Red Cross nurse. Apparently, he was very sick. He was down with dengue fever, that was called. And so she wrote a note saying that he's very sick in the hospital here, but then he was going to go on to the States. And he was going to go to Harvard at that time. And that's where he had come back from Harvard. And so that was it. And 2 years passed by, and that was it. I received one letter from him after that with a picture, and I sent him my picture in another letter, and 2 years went by. And then in December 47, no, August of 47, there's a call from San Francisco. It was from Phil saying he's proposing to me seriously. Please come to San Francisco. We'll be married in San Francisco. That was it. After 2 years, and then my mother said, well, you stay here. You're not going to go to San Francisco. We don't know about the Americans, you know. We seem nice, but that's it. And this is the message I told him, that we were not going to go. And we were considering, my parents were considering at that time, of maybe going on to Russia.
Yes.
We had,
A lot of people were trying to go.
at that time, a number of our relatives, like Aunt Anna, had been in the States. She had lived in Manila, and from Manila she was sent on to the States. And we didn't know if we'd get there, but my father thought we could go to Russia, because that's the way the Russians attempted to bring all those emigres back to Russia with their monies and things like that. But my family were very iffy about that, whether they'd go there, but something they could consider. And so I told him, I'm not coming to San Francisco, and we'll just have to wait here until my father decides if we go on to to
Russia?
And then he came.
But I remember one thing.
Phil came back to Shanghai.
Yes,
Rita, I remember Mama saying something to you, that that's okay, but not now. Let him go back and finish his studying, and then you can get married. I remember her saying that.
So Phil came back.
He
came
came
back.
back in 1947.
Yeah.
August of 47, he arrived on a boat steamer from San Francisco. It came. He and another fellow was with him. In fact, this fellow, a Chinese American, was writing a background of why he was going back to China himself. He was a Chinese American, and he was noted that next to his deck where he was standing, there was an interesting American named Rita Foisie. He was coming back to Shanghai to visit his bride.
That was the
She
picture, yeah.
And you know, he wrote it in that book, and I have the book now that he had written that had seen Phil coming back to Shanghai. And that was August of 47. Towards the end of 47, he gave me this ring, my ring, you know, engagement ring. And
Can we see that ring, please?
Here it is. Here it is.
Hold on one second. Let me capture it here. Posterity.
Yeah, that's the one. And
I want to
he
say
took
that
over.
Rita
Hold it
at
steady,
that time,
please. Hold it really still.
shoulder thing there. Yeah,
I did.
she looked like, if you don't know many stars at your you guys at your age now, but Rita looked like Hedy Lamarr. She wore the hair the same way, braided side open like that. She looked like Hedy Lamarr. She was a gorgeous woman.
Then
She
look what
was
happens to
all
you.
along.
Look what
Yes,
happens
for
to
a
you.
long time she was.
Look what happens.
She really looked like Hedy Lamarr.
So, Mom, when Dad came back in August of 47 to Shanghai, you still hadn't formally accepted his proposal for engagement, had you?
Well, we did, because he approached my father and did it properly to him.
How did he do that? Oh, by call or by
No,
writing?
went to see him, and he also he was looking for a job there.
So in 1947, when he went back to Shanghai, then he approached your father and asked for
Yes.
your hand in marriage.
Right.
Your Uncle Phil also stayed in. We had another room away from the kitchen that he stayed because he had nowhere to live
Right.
in Shanghai while he's
Sarah's
waiting
Quarter. It's called Sarah's Quarter.
to say hello to Rita and
Right.
to say yes. So he lived 2 steps away instead of, we had servants before.
Yes.
This is where Uncle Phil stayed.
Okay.
And then he would come down, and Rita and her would be together in our sort of, not dining room, I guess your bedroom or something, the room, because we didn't have that many rooms. And that is where I still remember he always courting her, and I was always in the way. I would on purposely open the door and go in and say, and then one day I saw his hand on her
Knee?
knee. I guess I was shocked. I walked out. I was quite angry, I guess.
Imagine.
And then this is how it was. I was very bad. Not bad, but I did that.
But I'll say one thing about Nona. I did have men came to see me, and there was one man where I did some work before the Americans, after the Americans left.
I can talk about that too.
Drawing lessons, and he did commercial art, and I took classes from him. I did commercial art.
I didn't know that.
And one day, somebody knocks at my front door, and there's this man with a bouquet of flowers, and another man standing in, and he approached. He was a German refugee, and he's there to talk to me in front of my parents. He was proposing to me that he's here with his brother to see that, that his intentions were serious, and he was there. Well, I didn't want to have anything to do with him, we thanked him, and that was it, and that was all but he had given me art classes for commercial art at that time.
Wow.
Close call.
Getting these men
Where is the Joe Procaccino?
multiple proposals.
Really?
Yeah, she had a boyfriend, Joe Procaccino. Because Philip said to me, he was going away.
Yes.
I mean, I thought he was going to the States. I didn't know he was going to San Francisco. And he said to me, Nona, I have something to tell you. It's a big secret. I don't want anyone to know. I said, okay, what is it? I really love Rita. And I don't want her to know that. Will you keep that from me? That you will never say it? I'll say, I promise I'll never say it. And I didn't. Finally, when he came back, a couple of years later, I remember when he came back, I came up to him and I said, Philip, I still know what you said. I kept my word. He was sorry I had done it because she wanted to know what he was saying, but he insisted on that. Philip and I we were coming up, we were good friends at that time. He was having all these his own medals, but also because I was going to school then, my last sweater, I said I want more. So he would go to all his friends and pick up all theirs, and he would put them on me, and it was just a wonderful time that way. It was really Rita, and then I remember them just going away.
And you got married in Shanghai?
Yes, and I guess it was
I have
April,
pictures,
April
but I don't
3rd,
remember all that.
married in the French concession along Avenue Pétain. There was a Catholic church.
Wonderful story, incredible story.
Yeah.
Now, Mom, how about you? How did you meet Father? Paul.
Yes, Paul. It was quite interesting.
He was a very attractive man. Well, all of us, the three girls, Margit and Augusta and I would look at all these handsome men and handsome women around them. And they were a little older than we were, but we just couldn't look at them more because they were so attractive as human beings. And then Nona did see them.
Well, I just had regular boyfriends at school who always carried my books, although the boys were not at school. But at the Russian club, we had to go to the Russian club and play basketball and things like that, and learn the Russian. I had to go at night for some language, which I didn't do too well, but I still can read
You
it.
performed there, too.
Yeah, that performance came later in the city too, These things. But your father, I used to pass a store in Shanghai that was fashionable, very fashionable, because in Shanghai you did not wear shoes. You go in and just buy shoes that you see.
Right.
There was no such thing. There was leather there, and you see one pair of shoes on the counter window, and that's all you see. And then you go in and you order what you want. You can have snakeskin, you can have anything you want. And it was very well known and very expensive, even then. And as
called
going
Marie.
to school, it was called Marie Shoe Store. And every time I'd go to school, I would see it, and I liked it, but that was all. So I knew the family just like that. I did not know anything. My sister and
Were
I
you
would
aware
go.
of who Paul was then? That
No,
So
no.
you had never seen him at
No,
this point. You just
didn't
knew
know.
the family
Yes.
business.
But
And I knew that
him
there was
with
he
his
had
group of
there was
young people.
somebody
You knew
was
that.
a
Yes.
doctor, and then the son was a shoemaker. That's all I knew, and that he had a brother who was a engineer, which is Willie, the brother. And so I had lost my train of thought.
So the shoe store and passing
Yeah.
by, and all you knew of the family
yeah, we
were
were
the shoes.
going on summers. We would go to a village in Chapu to have the summer, where there would be snakes, those little snakes in the thing,
Garter
an
snakes?
outhouse. But we had a nice little summer vacation, a very simple one. And in this summer vacation, of course, I used to suntan a lot, and I lay down on the suntan and comes in a lot of noise in the evening. This young men, lots of them. Your father was in it. They're drinking vodka and whatever else, drinking in a corner, and I could hear all that. So I knew they're there. And I passed by. He passed me by, and I was suntanning, and he said to me, "You shouldn't be suntanning." And I didn't know him, but he said, I knew who he was. You shouldn't suntan. Look at your nose; it's getting red.
Was this in English he spoke to you?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And I said, it's none of your business. And I turned away. Oh, because you're a doctor, I said. I was 16.
And you knew he was a doctor.
I knew he was a doctor.
Okay.
But because there were so many doctors drinking there, you see. And so the guys, and they did that every night. So, but that was all. I never saw him again. So this is how it started. And then slowly, he was very wealthy, had a good clientele in his own office in the apartment that we saw. John saw.
Yes.
That house that was built when we went to Shanghai just recently. When we were, yeah. And so, if I remember now, this went on. I think your father invited me and two other men for just going out dancing. So I would go dancing with him in the Russian club or the French club, always dressed up and going there to dance. And I would go, he's very serious, so that's fine, but if the guys want to dance with me, anybody around, I would dance with them too. And he finally thought, this went on for maybe, I don't know, let's say a few days or few weeks, that we would go out. He would take me out on a rickshaw, and we would go to these nice places.
Cool.
And so then,
How long did this proceed? For how many weeks
he
or
would
months?
phone me, and my mother would say, "You can go." So, and every time that he would come and pick me up on the fourth floor, he would pick me up. My mother would say, "Don't forget, you got to be home at 12:30 or 12 o'clock, and I'll be waiting." Then she turns around to me and says, "I don't know why you're going out with him. He's too old. Why are you going out with him?"
How long did this
10
courtship
years.
take? 10 years.
It's probably half a year.
Half
not
a year.
More. In between. So it stopped. One day he didn't phone.
Uh-huh.
Now in that club, I used to be quite flirtatious, and there was a man sitting at a table separately, and my husband, your dad, said to me, "You see that man sitting there? He's from South America. He wants to see you. He says, 'You beautiful girl, you're like a moon. You look like a beautiful moon. He wants to meet you.'" I said, "I don't want to meet him. What do I want to meet him for? Just because he wants to meet me? Forget it." And I was feeling okay. It didn't matter. In the meantime, after that, your dad stopped inviting me. Now, when the man invites you there, it's you or boy, you wait for your answer, and you always lie and say, I'm very busy. How about next week?" That's how we used to live. It was awful. Really honor.
Playing games.
Playing games, always playing games. He didn't call. I think he didn't call. Let's say he didn't call for a week. It felt like 100 months. I'm thinking, what am I? He didn't call me. And I hear that he's having another big party.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going, this is terrible. What am I going to do? I can't call. I just can't. Then I thought, what happened with that man? That man, I just finished, I graduated from
Right.
school,
Uh-huh.
just finished, and I won a prize. I could go to the States.
Okay.
And my mother said, you're not going to the States. What do you want to do in the States? I said, I want to sing. You can't sing. You can't make a career in singing. My mother said, it's not right. Go now and do typing and shorthand. And so she made me do typing and shorthand. So I went to a school of typing and shorthand. In the meantime, your dad stopped phoning. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I got this prize. My mom doesn't want me to go. None of us wanted to go. U.S. was something you want to hope for, you know. And so I phoned your dad. I knew that he had a party because his sister, Irene Marie, who just died, passed me by one day and said, Nona, are you going to the party?
That wasn't
and I
his
said,
sister.
A sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And I said, Irene, I don't go. And that time, Irene was very nice to me, by the way, when I didn't get to be close to your dad. Anyway, that's beside the story. And so I thought, oh, he's having a party and I'm not going. And I also knew that Nadia was going with, Frank's girl, Nadia, that I know, and two other girls that Rita knew. I knew they were going and
They
I
were
wasn't.
invited and you weren't.
I wasn't invited. So I thought, that's it. So I phoned up. I phoned your father and I said, Paul, I have just won a prize. I want to go to the States. You remember that man who was interested to meet me? Why can't he? Must be for the consulate, I said. He can. He's from South America. Simple. South America and U.S. is the same. He can make it and get me to get to the States. Can you phone him? Can you make the arrangement? Paul said, don't be stupid. This woman is from he is from South America. What has he got to do? Maybe he didn't tell me, but he said, maybe I don't even know him to be a consulate. He said, but anyway, I have a party. Why don't you come? I said, oh, how nice. So I came to the party. I phoned up my girlfriend, Lucy Kotze. You remember Lucy Kotze?
Yes.
And I said, Lucy, he's going to see me. I don't know what I'm going to do because I said, Nadia's there, the other one is there, 3 of them, and I know he's gone out with them. And me, I just knew him for a short time. I said, never mind. I said, he's going to propose to me. He'll propose to me that night. Lucy says, you're stupid. What do you mean? I said, I know he will. Okay, so the party's going on. Finally, we're sitting alone, sitting at the step there. I think he kissed me or something like that, and we began to talk. And then he said, now as far as I remember, his words were, it's time that we got serious. And I went, serious? What do you mean, serious? Oh, okay. And then we talked and dancing and all. Then I went home. I was so excited. I phoned up Lucy right away. And I said, Lucy, he said that it's serious. Well, if he's serious, I will tell him I am. That's okay. I'm serious too. I'll go to his office. I went to his office. I didn't knock. I came up. He had a cook that was quite stupid. He couldn't cook. He hardly could cook, but he cleaned house. He would open the door for me. Very nice old man. I said, where's Dr. Marie? Dr. Marie is in the office. I said, okay, I'll wait. I was going to go and tell him I'm serious too. So I finally get in, and there's a patient there sitting. A patient is sitting, and Paul's busy. He said, oh, no, yeah, I can be with you later. I said, that's okay. He said, just a minute. Can you help me? I said, okay. He gave me a tray, and he said, hold that for me. Is that okay? Can you hold it for me? I said, okay. And I'm looking at that man. He's sitting there, and he cut into his, I guess it was his arm or leg. I can't remember which. He took a knife, and he's cutting. And as I'm looking, I see skin, and then I see that yellow fat that everybody has underneath that, and the blood. And this thing, I'm holding this tray. I'm 16 and a half or 17 years old. I've never seen that in my life. I began to, I remember well, I couldn't begin to see things. And he said, hold on, hold on. He grabbed it for me. That's all I remember.
Did you
And then
pass
you
out?
fainted.
Did you pass out?
No. I did. I was going to shake and then fall. But nothing happened. I remember that. I don't remember what happened next, but I remember we were sitting and necking.
What a date.
Really, what a date.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Dad knows how to show a girl a good time. Perform surgery in front of her.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
that's an amazing story.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
story.
So
Oh,
then
that's
after
terrific.
that, we would just began to see each other as though they were like we were engaged without even thinking.
And?
Then when I would talk to people and say that, they would go, "Well, did he ever propose?" I said, "Well, that's what he said." And Paul would say, "No, I never proposed, but I guess that's it."
So
He
then
would
that
always
was
say
the
that
end.
as a joke. Yeah,
And then
he would say
that was the proposal.
That was his proposal.
Very casual.
Time to be serious is what he just said. To
So
be
you
serious,
didn't go to your father and ask permission like Phil did.
nothing like that.
And where were you
My mother-
married after?
We were married in Shanghai.
So from the time you met him to the time you were married was about 6 months?
Yes, and I got pregnant just right after on my honeymoon.
Wow.
Right after. And of course, nobody believed it because I got right away pregnant, and I was getting bigger, and then the communists were there by then,
You had to move on.
and your father was put into a jail. What is the word? Not a jail. but-
Internment.
Yes, because we tried to sell the apartment,
Right.
and we got money, but only part of it somebody told on us, and so the Japanese came to the dining room. I remember we were sitting, all of them, all the Japanese. Your father standing, and I'm sitting pregnant, and they're saying, "We have to think about it," and they took him away. And I don't know how long he was away. I know he was over, for sure, one night over or more. I can't tell you to be truthful, but he wasn't there. And I was very worried, but I also didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do because we kept saying nothing happened because they couldn't prove anything.
Right.
Because they wanted to prove that we had wanted to sell the land, the house. It was very big. Two stories high, with a pole. The top was Paul's and mine. We were married there, and I lived there for about a few months before we left.
What happened
At the
after
bottom
he
was a newspaper.
What happened after he was in jail for a night or two?
He came back. We never talked. I mean, he didn't say anything. Uncle Willie, finally, which I didn't know, I found out later, what he did was the Chinese said you can't go. We had an exit visa, everything ready to go. Because you had to have an exit visa to go,
But
as
did
well
you-
as a
did
visa.
you get the paper from Winnipeg to invite you to come? Did you have that?
No, nothing to do with him. It was Golda, the Jewish girl Golda, that took us over.
Oh,
Just
I thought
wait,
it was
no.
this
The only way
Catholic-
we could go, no,
How
nothing
did you end
to
up
do.
in Canada?
The reason we got in Canada was because your father was a doctor in the hospital. I think you know the story about the hospital. It's a long story.
Can you tell it?
Yes, of course.
Thank
Your
you.
father
Hospital
was a
in
Catholic.
Nina?
When I'm,
Are
pardon?
you talking about now you're in Canada, or have you jumped ahead, or are you
I,
talking about a
I
hospital
am,
in Shanghai?
I am talking about Shanghai when I
Oh.
got there. When to get to Shanghai, we had to have
Where was this story? You were in Shanghai with
to
this
get
story.
to get to the States. I mean, to get to Canada. We applied. Okay, we went to 3 places: consulate, American, Australian, and Canada. Canada accepted us. They needed doctors, so we decided okay. And the way they showed it was Saskatchewan. Into Saskatchewan. I said, okay, that will have to be Saskatchewan. In the meantime, we had to have a sponsorship. my girlfriend Golda, whose parents just moved from Shanghai to Canada, Golda said, I can apply for you. So she applied, therefore we could come. So we came, and your father right away got into a hospital with a very nice priest who helped us, Father
Ninette, though,
Warnke.
isn't it?
Warnke, when we got to, yes, from,
Ninette.
yes,
But Ninette's in Manitoba. You said Saskatchewan?
no, we're Vancouver. We came, Manitoba. We came to Manitoba first.
Okay.
First to Manitoba. We got to Manitoba via Aleutian Island down to Manitoba. From there, he was supposed to go to Saskatchewan. And we're sitting now there, right?
Right.
Golda, my girlfriend, allowed that to happen, and I was very pleased about that. I saw her mother and helped her out. It worked out well. And so then, what else can I talk about?
How was that
So
all
we
finalized?
we got there, and Father Warnke helped us. In the meantime, I'm pregnant. Your father had to work right away in Manitoba, in the hospital.
St. James.
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
No, not St. James. We were living up north near the trains in Winnipeg. We moved. Golda arranged it because her parents were there. I came there to Manitoba. My God, just trains and people who were all speaking what I thought was Russian was Ukrainians. They're all Ukrainians there in Manitoba, where we were. And I got rented a house, two rooms from a Jewish lady. She said, "You're pregnant, no babies, but that's okay. You can come." So this is how it was. And your father began to work immediately, and I was alone. He worked at night. So when he would come home, he wanted to sleep, and I would be crying with young Paul. The baby was born. I was all alone. That time we met other very good friends. I can't think of the name now, and they kind of helped us because they lived in St. James. Can't think right now. And so therefore, this is how we first started.
And then?
Your father was working, and he was sent up north.
To Ninette.
Not to Ninette, to the Pa. I was all alone, into North Manitoba. And there he began to paint the Mexican people with watercolor because...
Eskimo people.
Eskimo people.
Yeah.
Watercolor, because he had a very nice surgeon who helped your father as well. So they worked there, and I was alone. In the meantime comes Christmas. I wrote to him and I said, it's Christmas time, are you going to come back? I'm all alone. And by that time, during that half year, we brought my parents out. Like I then wrote down that I will take care of them. So they came out. And my father and mother are staying in the same room, in that part of Manitoba, which is the worst part in Manitoba, the Winnipeg. And so I phoned up your father or whatever, and he came for Christmas. Then, after Christmas, he went back. At Christmas, we had a party. I had a few people that I knew, Goldas and whatever. And then my father died of a heart attack. He died within less than half a year in bed. I phoned
He was living
up,
in Manitoba?
yes,
Your
in
father?
Winnipeg.
Yes.
He died.
What year was that?
We came in end of 50. It would
Paul
have
wasn't
been,
born then.
Paul was born.
So it
Because
would have been 1951 that he passed away.
your father and your father and me, I brought my mother and father out, and it was within 6 months he died.
Right.
In bed. Now at that time I also called Mrs. Marie, my husband's mother from South America. She cried, she didn't like it there, wanted to come. I said to Paul, your father, I said, if you brought my mother out and my mother and dad, I'm going to bring your mother out, although I hear she's very difficult.
Where was Dad's father?
Dad's father died before I knew him.
Oh,
He died
in
of
Shanghai.
cancer.
In Shanghai.
Cancer. Of
Okay.
cancer. Before I knew him at all.
I thought the four of them came to Canada. Okay.
No, only my mother and
Oh, okay.
father, yeah. So this is how they came, right?
Okay.
I think that tells you just about everything. So then your father said, I can't be coming all the time back and forth. It's impossible now that he came for the funeral, of course. By that time, Mrs. Marie comes from South America to live with us. She helped wonderfully because your father died. My mother's screaming, I'm screaming. She's very orthodox. She helped there. And there was a big funeral, a small funeral with a big stone for my father, my mother and sister.
I think I arrived with Greg.
You came.
Yeah,
You
I
came for the
from
funeral.
California.
And then we went to Ninette with Rita. She had Jeffrey, Gregory in her, or Jeffrey in
No,
her hand.
Gregory.
Gregory in her hand. By train, the government said, okay, if you don't like to go up and forth from Manitoba here, go to Ninette where they have tuberculosis. And that's how we ended up in the house, a beautiful home in Ninette.
Got it.
Now
Now why don't
you
we take
got
a
it.
break here for a minute, and I can get you ladies some ice water, or come in the shade for a few minutes.
And before we do that, can you come behind them? I'd like to take a picture of the three of you, if I can manage to do this. You're all so kind, allowing me to take this. I hope it works out. If this didn't take, we'll do it all over again, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that I can do this. Let's see. I think, whoops. I'll try again. Hold on 1 second.
Ready?
This is not quite working. I'm sorry, everyone. We'll try one more time. We'll do it again later.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the end didn't work, you think?